Hey everyone, welcome to this session of the Chaos to Calm Summit with ParentPorch. Super excited to talk about nutrition for families today. I feel like this is important for everybody, right? Everybody needs good nutrients, and as parents, we often just think about our kids, but you need to be fed well too. And so I'm excited to be here with a dear friend of mine, Dr. Mac Nair. She is fantastic. She has helped me and my kids personally in our health journey. And so I'm going to pass it to her to share a little bit about her and what she does. And then we're going to jump into our conversation.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me. Thanks for inviting me. Nutrition is a topic I'm super passionate about, and especially families. I think that's incredible because, anyway, we got to start them young. The younger you start them, the easier it is for them to maintain long term.
Yeah.
Anyway, I am Dr. Mac Nair, and I have been in the health industry for 15 years. I started as chiropractor. I did chiropractic and acupuncture, moved into functional medicine about 5 years ago, and have worked with thousands ever since, helping them with a multitude of things, right? Nutrition is a piece of that healing puzzle when we're looking at health and wellness and how our body is functioning on the inside. So, yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks.
All right, perfect. And she's a mama as well. So it's always nice to be in the company of other parents, especially with a summit like this. Like you can speak from your area of expertise and you understand parenting, which was my hope. So let's not waste any time. Let's jump in. So
Let's go.
we already know parents are busy, right? Whether you work or you stay at home, you're busy. And meal planning can feel overwhelming. There's so many different influencers out there telling you all this different information. And so, what are the key nutritional principles that families should focus on to ensure that both parents and the kids are getting the nutrients they need?
Mhm. Yeah. So, I mean, the biggest thing I try to talk to people about when they're trying to, I'm not a big meal planner. I kind of like to fly by the seat of my pants because that's just how life goes. And keep it simple, right? A lot of times we try and overcomplicate things. Oh, I have to do this fancy recipe. I have to do, whatever, right? Keep it simple. Focusing on proteins, prioritizing proteins, whether they're a growing kid, whether they're a female mom with hormonal imbalances, whatever we're looking at, or a man, right? To maintain muscle mass, right? We want protein, veggies, fruits. That's where you're going to get all your nutrients, your minerals, your vitamins, right? Fiber, which is going to help their gut stay functioning well, and then healthy fats, right? So, especially for kiddos, as they're growing, healthy fats are so crucial for their brain and nervous system development. So, really, just I encourage people just have lists of all of those options, right? So lists of proteins, chicken, turkey, beef, steak, whatever it is that you like, right? Shrimp, whatever it is, and have a list of veggies and just pick.
Mix it up.
Have them readily
Yeah.
on hand and just pick and go. Keep it simple. Simple is the really and truly the only way to maintain healthy eating long term, right? If you try and make it too elaborate and try all these recipes, which if you have the time, go for it. But the sustainability, right? It has to be there. If you don't have time to do the crazy meal planning, just keep it simple. Proteins, fruits, veggies, healthy fats. Obviously I talk to people about inflammatory foods, right? So things to avoid, but I try and be a little cautious about that because I don't want people to think, oh, well, I have to be perfect, because let's just be honest. I'm going to say it right here. Perfection doesn't exist. The only thing
Yeah.
we can do is do the best that we can. And so I hesitate to even throw that in, just because if you're focusing on whole foods, proteins, veggies, fruits, healthy fats, you're not going to be having those inflammatory foods, right? And, you're going to be doing a great job.
Yeah. And it'll be less to think about. That's like one less list to try to think about and say, oh gosh, I can't, people will like kind of switch into that mindset of like, I can't,
Mhm.
right? And if they think the way that you just said it right now, I'm like, oh yeah, I could totally take proteins, fruits, veggies, and do a mix. And we can
Yep.
have something different every day, probably,
Mhm.
So I love that. I love keeping it simple. So on that same front, what are some of your like time saving meal ideas that busy parents can use just to make sure like their family eats well and they're not tempted to just either spend hours in the kitchen or say, let me just go grab the fast food.
Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, there are a lot of options here, right? But my biggest piece of advice is have healthy, ready to eat options, right? Like there are, frozen grilled chicken strips that you can have in the freezer. You can just throw them in a skillet, throw them in the microwave if you really need to, like let's not, again, perfection is not what we're going for here. We're going for progress, right?
Yeah.
Having like frozen shrimp or, just frozen protein options are fantastic to just, thaw and go. You can buy veggies pre-cut, have those in the fridge ready to rock and roll and ready to grab. Fruit's pretty easy for the most part. One of the pieces of advice I have there with veggies and fruits is like wash them and cut them up and like just prep them as soon as you get home from the grocery store, if you can, right? Because then you just have them literally right there for the kids to grab and go. If it's ready and available, they will grab it. Yep. They might have to be pretty desperate for some of the options, right? But, if it's ready, they'll grab them. And then, with healthy fats, like having avocados on hand, those are real easy to open up and slice up and, eat with some turkey, right? Find a healthy deli meat option, right? And wrap a slice of avocado in, a couple of slices of turkey. That's a fantastic snack right there for a kiddo, for an adult, for whatever, right? But having quick options, healthy, quick options ready for you to just throw and go is really the best way to do it, especially when we're talking about breakfast and lunch, right? Dinner, maybe, people can be a little bit more, recipe driven, right? Because they have more time. But if you have them readily available, you're more likely to grab them. And there are so many options. Look in the freezer section, and even if it's fresh fruits and vegetables, right? Buy them cut up, save yourself some time there too.
Yeah. I started to buy like fruits and veggies and then freezing them myself, especially when they're in season. I've also started to buy what's in season because it saves me money. So, in the fall, right, we're going to have some roasted sweet potatoes. It's definitely apple season, so we're definitely going to have an apple every day. But then when it's berry season, we load up on berries. And then I'll freeze some and then it keeps some fresh. And so it makes it super easy. And then my kids see me eating berries. My son is looking at us kind of crazy, like, why would you eat that? My daughter loves now blueberries and raspberries and strawberries and all those things because I've had it around. Carrots, all those things where I'm like, I'm not sure if she's going to be interested. Totally interested in all of that. And I was shocked at like a 2-year-old would be down for it. So I love that. How do you feel about, crock pot meals or baking
for sure.
or, cooking some of these proteins in advance and then kind of having it available for the week?
Yep. Yeah. So if you are maybe a meal prepper, or doesn't even have to be meal prep, right? Maybe like you said, you just want to cook up 2 pans, 2 glass dishes of chicken, right? Like I'll do that oftentimes, or I'll at least make enough for dinner that I can eat for leftovers for either breakfast or lunch the next day. So you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone there. But crock pot is absolutely an awesome option, especially for like, just throw it and go. I don't love that in the summer, to be honest, because I'm not a fan of hot stuff in the summer. But that's a fantastic option. There are even some pre-made meals, like Kevin's. That brand is really good, that are clean ingredients that are literally, you throw them in the oven or the microwave and they're ready to go. They're really good. They're clean ingredients, which are fantastic. That's what I love about it's 2025, right? We're kind of with the program here. And so there are some better options there that make it easier and more accessible to eat healthy.
I love it. And I'm definitely going to go try and find Kevin's because I hadn't heard of it. So I'm definitely going to check that out. Anything that saves me time, as a busy mom of toddlers is always helpful. So my son, of course, as you know, I at first thought he was a picky eater and then realized he had like food sensitivities and sensory sensitivities. And so many people kind of struggle with figuring this out. Like with, my kid's a picky eater, I don't know what to do, or they have these allergies and sensitivities, I don't know what to eat. What are your best tips for, ensuring children get balanced nutrition without like having to fight every mealtime?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that is $1 million question. Because to be honest, we all have kids and we know that what works one day might not work the next day. So
Yeah.
the biggest thing is just keep trying. Having it available for them to try, encourage them to keep trying, right? Because their taste buds can change. But some ways to kind of counteract picky eating is hide it. Hide it in, chop up some carrots or chop up some sort of vegetable, put it in like chili or a soup or something where they can't really tell it's in there taste wise. Or I know you and I talked a lot about smoothies, right?
Yeah.
Get those greens, get those fruits, get those veggies, as many in there, and hide it with a clean protein powder. And if you put enough fruits in there, it's going to taste delicious. But with picky eaters, it's usually coming from either sensory issues, sensitivity issues, gut health, right? And so the more we can get nutrient dense foods into their little bodies, it's going to change their taste buds, number one, but it's also going to help strengthen and build their gut health, which is going to translate into not being a picky eater anymore, right? So exposing them to it without them knowing that they're being exposed to it, until they're like, oh yeah, I actually do like this, because their taste buds will change. Another thing that you could focus on is like probiotic rich foods, fiber rich foods, right? To really help to fortify and focus on gut health. But really and truly, the biggest thing is just getting those fruits and vegetables, healthy fats into something where they don't notice it enough for them to kind of change the taste buds and all those things. With food sensitivities, obviously you want to, avoid the food sensitivity foods, right? But then just focusing on any of the fruits, vegetables, healthy fats, proteins that you, but again, a smoothie, great way to get a lot of those in. And most kids aren't going to turn down, a fruit smoothie. So that's my biggest, advice. Yeah.
It doesn't matter what color it is. He never turns it down. So he doesn't know what's in it. I've also tried, like if I meal prep for myself and I'm doing like egg bites or something, I don't mind like the bigger chunks of like the veggies or whatever. But for the kids, I'll chop it a little bit smaller, where like with each bite, they're getting the fruits and veggies, or my daughter, right, is getting the fruits and veggies. She has no clue that it's in there. Or making like what looks like homemade pancakes. But what's really in there is different, right? It's like the 2 ingredient pancakes, which is like a banana and an egg. But then in that, I'm hiding some of those other berries, which got her interested in berries. Because at first she was like, what is that little thing? Absolutely not. Well, then after you had it enough, and then her taste buds change, and now we're at brunch and she sees it, she's like, oh, I want that thing. So again, it depends on your kid. She may change her mind completely next week. So we'll see what happens. But I love those tips and that exposure. Even with my son, who doesn't eat many solid foods, I'm seeing that as I give him a piece or two of something his sister is eating, we're getting less of him throwing it on the floor. He's literally picking up, starting to engage with it. He'll lick it a little bit. If he likes it, he'll go for it. If he doesn't, he'll kind of push it to the side. But now I don't feel like I'm being wasteful. I'm not giving him a whole plate of something and then it ends up on the floor. It's like he tastes a little piece, he's not with it, he puts it in the corner, and we're good. So I love those strategies. So we're going to shift a little bit to parents. We already know that parents often prioritize the health of their kids and everyone else, right, before themselves. And so what are some easy ways for parents to nourish themselves and maintain energy throughout the day without feeling like they have to have a bunch of coffee or stimulants?
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like a broken record, because a lot of this is really similar advice, right? What we would do for our kids is what we should also really do for us, right? But plan and prioritize. Number one, first and foremost, you are the sole reason for that child's existence, right? So, I oftentimes will talk to parents about there's a reason why if we're on a plane and we lose cabin pressure, the people tell you put your mask on first before you put your child's mask on, right? Because if you don't have your mask on, if you aren't getting oxygen, you can't help your child, right? And so
Yeah.
one thing we want to put our kids first because we love them. We brought them onto this earth and we want everything for them. But just taking a step back and realizing if we want everything for them, we have to do those things for ourselves too, right? And sometimes I get a lot, like I just don't have the energy for it. It's exhausting. I mean, I get it, right? But the one thing I will say is the more you prioritize eating healthy, moving your body, doing all of those things, you're going to have more energy to do them, right? So you just kind of have to take that first step and remember that you can't help your children, right? If you aren't helping yourself. And, they will model what we do, like you said,
Yeah.
Nala will now eat, the fruits because she sees you eating them, right? They will model
Yes.
what we do, right? So that's one of the best gifts that you can give your child is the ability to see you take care of yourself. But then planning, right? So like for me, my breakfast and lunch is usually the same thing, or it's like the same three things, right? Like I have my rotation because that's just easier for me. We have so many decisions to make throughout the day. Decision fatigue is a thing, and I don't even want to have to think about it, right? So I have my go-to breakfasts and lunches, and I'm just like, which one do I want today? Okay, that's easy for me, right? And then dinner is when, I'm thinking more about what are, we going to eat as a family. So that will simplify it a little bit. But the more you have a plan, if you plan to succeed, the more likely you are to actually succeed, right? So just think about your week and plan. Here's what I'm going to have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And understand that there's, it's not set in stone, right? But the more you have a plan set in place, now it's not going to be 5 o'clock and you're like, oh, shoot, what are we having for dinner? You already know, right? So really and truly plan and prioritize. And if you're okay eating the similar meals, for breakfast and lunch, keep it simple. Do that.
Yeah. And remember to eat. I am a
Yes.
mama who is like, I've got so much to do in this amount of time while my kids are at school. Let me try and get as much of it done. And then
Mhm.
I'm the mama who gets to 5 o'clock that's like, oh shoot, I didn't eat today.
Yeah.
And so all of that, like if I'm thinking about why I'm exhausted, my body didn't have any fuel,
Mhm. Mhm.
and maybe I didn't have any water either. So like, what does my body have to work with to function as it's designed? So I've gotten a lot better about setting
Yes.
timers, blocking off my
Mhm.
calendar to like eat and like go on a walk. If it's cold outside, I'll just like honestly, I'll like walk laps inside the house to get steps, and I'll listen to a podcast or have something on the TV in the living room, and I'll just walk around, right, and walk in place because with some stretching, there's like standing stretches, and and move around. That's gonna work me up to needing more water afterwards, and so just like working with you, I've been able to find the time that I didn't think I had, and the more that I'm like fueling my body well, the more I'm like these were probably my issues.
Yeah.
So just trying to get better with that. And I love that you always talk about like there is no perfection. So every day is not perfect. There are days where like I forget to eat. And then I stop and I'm like, you gotta go eat something right now.
Mhm.
you know?
Yep.
And then sometimes there's weeks where like, the kids were sick and I was spending so much time with them. I was like squeezing in. I was more of a grazer, during those weeks. But I think the preparation helped a ton because I
Mhm.
could just go to
Yeah.
the fridge, pull something out. I have the deli meats. My mom's like, when did you start buying deli meats again? I'm like, just trust me, I needed them. if you want me to eat, I needed this
Mhm.
turkey. I needed this chicken, like, to make it work. So, yeah, I love those suggestions. You mentioned clean protein.
Yeah.
Say more about that, like
Oh.
clean protein
Mhm.
powders,
Mhm.
and which ones you like.
Yeah. So I really try and stay away from dairy-based proteins just because it's mucus producing. It's really, I mean, a high sensitivity for a lot of us. And so
Hmm.
I really like hydrolyzed beef protein.
Okay.
There are a few brands. Equip is one. Um, And then I think Amy Myers might have a couple of options of beef-based protein. But you could also do like collagen powder, right? So like vital collagens or
Oh
vital
yeah.
protein collagen powder. That's really great. Really, the fewer ingredients, the better. And I usually try and stay away from dairy based, just because there are a lot of just sensitivities to it. But yeah,
Super helpful.
that's what I would usually lean toward. Now, like, so then people all often ask me, well, what about vegan options? And I'm not against vegan options. It's just that there are a lot of grains in them and a lot of like based proteins in them. So I'm not usually a huge fan of them. You can usually find like a collagen based or a beef bovine, protein based option.
Love that.
Good question.
Yeah, I love that. And my son's pediatrician like suggested something similar, so I was just curious,
Yeah.
something for him. And I'm like, oh, you said the same thing, so perfect. It's not often sometimes that like traditional medicine and functional medicine kind of align, but it did there,
Yeah.
and I figured it would. So how do we make this like sustainable? Like, how do we how how would you help someone overcome those temptations, particularly women who may have these cravings during certain parts of their
Mhm.
cycle, or it's a super busy day and you've been out doing sports with the kids and all the other families are making this decision? Like, how do you guide people through some of those temptations um, when it comes to nutrition?
Yeah. So first and foremost, planning, right? Again, taking the spontaneity out of a decision making process is more likely you're going to make the healthier choice, right? If you if your kids have activities Tuesday and Thursday evenings and you're just flying by the seat of your pants, well, you're going to hit a drive-through probably, right? And not
Yeah.
that hitting a drive-through is bad, right? But you're probably not going to make healthy choices, right? So number one, if you plan ahead, put snacks in a cooler, put them in your car, and away you go, right?
Yep.
Bring nuts in your purse. Have a protein powder. One of the best tips I ever learned was always having a shaker bottle with a serving of protein in it that you can literally just add water to, shake it up and drink
Yeah.
it. And you know you're getting protein, right? And so plan ahead, number one, pack a cooler if you have to. But even if you're like, shoot, we're going to have to hit the drive through, plan what you're going to get from there, right? So the
Mm.
more you eliminate those split second decisions, right, the more likely you are going to make those good, healthier decisions, right? The decisions that you want to make, but maybe you don't want to make them
Yeah.
in that moment because you don't have the energy or you're just not in the right mindset or whatever. Which leads me to my next piece is work on your mindset around food. Okay. So especially for the women who are watching this, we tend to have more of maybe an emotional tie to food, or our cravings are tied to emotions or hormone fluctuations or whatever, right? And so really keying in on positive affirmations. I choose healthy foods because I love the way those foods make me feel. Even when I'm stressed, I choose healthy foods that are going to make me feel and function my best so I can be the best mom to my kids, so I can be the best spouse to my partner, right? Like telling yourself those things over and over and over again is not necessarily just going to be magic and you're going to start making these decisions, but over time it's going to solidify making those decisions easier. So couple the mindset piece with the planning ahead and the action piece, right? Do that long enough and it's going to just be second nature. You're going to make those shifts.
Yeah. I'm implementing that one ASAP. I love the, if we're gonna have to grab something, plan which
Mhm.
place it is. It was like an aha for me. I live very close to like a bunch of fast food restaurants, right? But I'm like, huh, yeah, I could probably go to Panera instead of Popeyes. Or I could go get like the super greens and a protein, right, from Panda Express, the grilled chicken or whatever, instead of McDonald's,
Mhm.
or
Yep.
Chipotle's right there. I could get double protein and a salad, and that's not always the
Yeah.
choice that I make. And so I'm like, yeah, let me start planning.
Yeah.
Start planning where we're
Yeah.
gonna stop.
Yeah. And
I love
even if you want to go to some of those places, it's okay
yeah,
too, right? Just take the bun off, or just like you always want to. Whatever your choice is or whatever your options are, you always want to fancy it up, as health it up as much as you can,
yeah,
like spruce it up, like, slap some lipstick on, and make it the best option possible. So even if you have to go to McDonald's, maybe you choose a grilled chicken sandwich and you just take the bun off. You eat the lettuce and tomatoes and the chicken. I mean,
yeah,
that's way better than any other choice too,
yeah,
right?
yeah. That's a good point. I like that. I love that. So to close us out, how can people work with you and what can they expect?
Yeah. So I have a membership based program. It's called the Wellness Vault. And it is a comprehensive approach to health and wellness, feeling and functioning your absolute best, right? So functional medicine is all about how to heal the inside and maximize and optimize how the inside is functioning so that the outside matches what you want, but also you have energy, your hormones are balanced, you are symptom free or as close as possible, right? And so we really focus on 5 pillars. So nutrition, number one. Without good nutrition, that's the foundation of all things, right? So nutrition has to be part of that. Perfection isn't part of it, right? Just doing the best you can. Nutrition, mindset, right? Because a lot of times we have to, we're not necessarily given the best nutrition advice or the best health advice, in mainstream media. And so kind of learning some of the things that we think are true, but then doing and breaking free from some of our past decisions
Yeah,
or past failures and letting go of that and allowing ourselves to be and do different moving forward, right? Lymphatic work, detoxification, your detoxification pathways have to be functioning well if we want to feel and function our best. So that's a third piece. Movement, how can we be moving our body in a way that works with us and not against us? And then the last piece is targeted supplementation. So what supplements should I be doing based on what my body needs? I incorporate testing so that we can identify, hard facts. What does my body need? Based on that, here's, what my recommendation would be. And I have all of that inside of a membership area, which is really cool. We do Q&As. We do all sorts of stuff. There are multiple ways to test. But really and truly, again, it's all about healing and optimizing how things are functioning on the inside. So on the outside, we feel and function the way we want to.
yeah, I love it. I'm a part of the Wellness Vault. I've learned so much in there, and it's self-paced. And I'm able to. I feel like it's a safe place for me to go and
Mhm.
read and like get some like really sound tips, or even listen to the videos, right? And then I read. There's like a community portion where people are asking questions, so then I go read the answers to their questions. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm learning a little bit more, and it's at my fingertips, right? Like in my phone when I'm thinking about things, as I'm preparing meals, like I will take some suggestions from there, from like the meal plans and things, and ask Chat GPT, hey, based on these things, and I'll list it out, and this is make me 5 new meals that I can have for dinner this week, and make me a grocery list. And then I go to the store, and like I don't have to. I'm not in there like I don't know. I've got I'm trying to think about what I can do and
Mhm.
all these. Oh, and I need all this other stuff. It's like here's the list. As a matter of fact, you need less than you thought, right? Like
Yeah.
because of like we're reusing some of these ingredients. So we're gonna have
Mhm.
chicken twice this week, but it's not the exact same, right?
Right.
So I love everything that I've been able to learn and still going through it, and I love that there's something for everybody. Like there, it is
Mhm.
not like a one size fits all thing. I love that I went in there and I was like, well, I need all of this, and I love that y'all are like, right, start with one.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's actually
That's
why I
me.
created it, is because, I worked one-on-one with people, and based on testing, I'm going to give you all these things, that you should be doing. But I wanted to meet my patients more where they were at, right? So, hey, here are these 5 pillars that you can incorporate, but start with 1 or 2, right?
Yep.
Start where you can and build from there, but you have it at your disposal when and if and when you're ready to start incorporating them. So I love that you shared that that's kind of what you're
Yeah.
doing in there. Yeah.
It was awesome. It was great because it was like, okay, start. Great. start with this thing because
Yep.
the rest of this is still available to you when you're ready. So it was awesome. So I highly recommend the Wellness Vault. Highly recommend working with Michelle. That I never feel judged. I know moms in particular experience a lot of guilt, and I didn't feel guilty. Right? It was like this did not happen overnight, right? And there's a bunch of different ways that this could have happened to you. What matters now is you've got the information
Mhm.
and you can start to make a change. And so I think everything that you shared today is like something that we can start to apply immediately. So I love this session. I hope everyone is taking notes, or hey, just rewind it and start over at the beginning and take notes. Where can they connect with you, and where can they find the Wellness Ball?
Yeah. So I'm on Facebook mostly. Michelle Lynn is my handle on Facebook, but Dr. Michelle Mac Nair on Instagram. And then the Wellness Vault. I'm not sure exactly what that website is. I sent it to you. So maybe
Oh
she
yes,
could just
it'll be in the notes.
drop it in the
I'll drop it in the
comments.
description. Yep.
It's macnairholistichealth.com/something. So
Okay.
we'll get that to all of
We'll
you
get it.
guys. That has all of the the details of what's inside of the vault, and the price. I really try and keep it super affordable so that, and it's for the whole family, right? So if
Yeah.
you as a mom or dad want to get it, right, it's for the whole family. You can use that information for your whole family, and I'm accessible in there. So it's really a fantastic place. I mean, I'm biased, but
Yeah.
I'm really proud of it, and I'm happy with the results that people are getting. So
Yeah. Cool. And I will say it helps you to not feel like you're alone. I think sometimes we can
yes.
isolate ourselves and we get into that guilt and we kind of get hard on ourselves and you think I
Mhm.
must be the only one who's not doing this right because social media has all these influencers like kind of selling perfection, right? But then you get into a community like that and you're like, I'm not the only one doing this and following this and taking this day by day and getting like amazing results. That's like always motivating for me. It's just like seeing people think, like being really skeptical and saying, this is not going to work for me. And they start and they're like, oh my gosh, this worked for me. And I feel so good.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
so grateful that you created it. Obviously, I'm a fan and I'm biased because I'm in there. And I've been in there since the beginning. So, thank you, Michelle, for joining us. This was amazing. Michelle also talked to us on our social media pages about easy fitness tips for busy parents a little bit earlier in the year. So, check that out on YouTube. Couple that together with this, and you will hear a lot of what she does with patients. Other than that, thanks again for joining us in this summit session on nutrition for families. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much, Michelle.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that session. Make sure that you stay in touch with us for more content on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. It is ParentPorch, ParentPorch. Also follow me on all platforms at Uncaped Mama, UNCAPEDMAMA. Continue to stay connected with us by email. Make sure you check your email for some goodies as well, and to stay up to date on all of our events and happenings and to be ready for your next session. See you in the next one.